Long story short, I was in a serious relationship with my ex-boyfriend for a little over a year. I became pregnant unexpectedly at the end of our relationship. When I found out, I told him about it and gave him the choice to be involved or not. I'm at a point in my life where I'm able and willing to raise a child on my own. However, I wanted to give him an opportunity to be a father to our son in some capacity. I really loved this man and believed I would marry him someday based on conversations we had when we were together. When I told him about my pregnancy, he totally freaked out, said he wanted me to have an abortion, and even went as far as to send me papers via an attorney asking me not to contact him. I obliged to this and haven't talked to him since. Unfortunately, even though we haven't been in contact for nearly my entire pregnancy, he has still continuously gone out of his way to be emotionally abusive to me. He has contacted my boss and the agencies I work with about this, and has even gone as far to have his family members and friends contact my OB/GYN office so many times that I had to switch practices at 24 weeks pregnant. His behavior is scaring me, and although I've asked people both in my life and our life for help, I'm not getting anywhere. At this point I'm afraid of him and what he might do. I have never asked him for anything during this time, financial or otherwise, nor have I badmouthed him or went against his wishes concerning his privacy. I have only been trying to do what is best for our son, and I cannot figure out what his motivations are to treat us this way. I begged my parents to block his phone number and asked that they not inform him when I give birth. They refuse to do so, and it's making me extremely anxious. I don't want him showing up at the hospital at all, especially during a time that it could affect the health of my son or myself. My response to this was to invite them to the hospital after I've given birth, but they are not willing to accept this. They insist on driving me to the hospital in their car and staying the entire time. I set to be induced tomorrow and am now more anxious than ever. All I want is to have my son in peace while feeling safe. Does anyone have any other ideas on how I can approach this? I already plan on leaving my son's father off of the birth certificate. Thank you for reading this. Call the hospital and ask if they will enforce no tendance birth iClouding your parents. Many hospitals will protect the mother and prevent people from coming to the birth. If the hospital does not do that, call your best friend and ask them to stand guard for you. Thank you very much for this. I did not realize that was an option and will make sure to use non-attendance birth when I check in. I have been worried about my family sitting in the lobby and badgering staff to let them in against my wishes. They have made me feel very guilty about my decision to give birth alone, but the way I see it, I went through my entire pregnancy alone. I might as well do this by myself too. I wish that you had posted this a lot sooner. I would have advised you to file for a restraining order against him. What you can do though is tell your doctor and the hospital that you do not want anyone allowed in to see you and the baby until after other baby is born. As the patient, you get to decide who is allowed in. Thank you. Tell the doctor you don't want anyone in with you other than people you choose. In the hospital they can do that. Thank you. They can insist all they want. Just make your own way to the hospital. Inform your doctor/nurses about this situation. They will protect you and not allow anyone in. File for a restraining order as soon as you're able. Put your parents on restrictions cause they made clear they don't have your back. Don't leave the baby alone with them either. Don't care about causing offense. You need to make yourself and your baby priority #1. The rest can suck it. Thank you for the reassurance. I have been feeling very guilty about this, but I know my son's well-being has to be number one. You tell the hospital staff that no one is allowed to be with you in the room whatsoever. They will kick out anyone who tries to come in. That goes for visitors afterwards as well. Your parents won't have any choice about accepting it. After the baby is born, I suggest you lawyer up and get a restraining order. I wouldn't even put his name on the birth certificate. I think after your child is born you will need to pack up and relocate somewhere your ex will have no one to help him stalk you. Can you get a restraining order? I don't think I'll be able to unless a judge is willing to grant me an emergency one. I'm afraid to go to the only court in my town because he works for the government and has already had people higher up than him lie on his behalf. That is, his boss contacted the local police agency and had them go to my OBGYN on the premise that I was taking part in behavior/activities that would hurt our son. Lucky for me, my hospital system requires patients to take urine drug screens at each apt, so I was cleared of that pretty quickly. I don't want things to get messier than I can afford within the court system, but I may have to go that route if he keeps it up. Leave tonight. You don't have to sit around and wait for your parents to drive you tomorrow. Stay with a friend or at a hotel tonight and drive yourself tomorrow and tell the staff you want 0 visitors. I'm so sorry for what you are going through and that your family does not have your back. It is too late now, but I would have advised you to relocate to another state more favorable to you, rather than stay where you are. That would have leveled the playing field in dealing with his shenanigans. As long as you are pregnant, you could have moved away, and he would not have been able to do anything about it. You could have hopped on a bus and gotten out of town. If you live in a one-party consent state, you need to covertly record everything. You need to document everything. I would like to get whatever proof that you can that he is telling public officials to lie for him. You need an info binder. You need a lawyer who will collect signed statements from your doctor and the hospital on what your ex and his flying monkeys are doing. If you can, I would only breastfeed your low. That will make it harder for them to try to take the baby away from you in the short term. He got a restraining on her, not the other way around. Talk to the hospital staff. Call your doctor's office and tell them the situation. Do the same with the hospital. They will absolutely protect you and the baby. They will throw everyone out. All you have to do is say the word. You also need to realize the level of abuse is escalating. You need help. Reach out. https://www.thehotline.org/. Do not let your parents be in that room for the birth. They do not care about your safety or well-being, and try to get a restraining order on your ex. I assume you will have quite some evidence. Hospital will not let anyone without your consent, especially for the birth. Find a safe ride to hospital. Tell nurses the only person to let to you. They will not let anyone else, and they actually have security. Visiting someone in the maturity ward is different than anywhere else in the hospital. It's like visiting someone in jail. You need to know someone who's in there, and they have to want to see you. When you go into the lobby, the nurses sit behind a window and there is a door. There is no way to get through that door without the nurse allowing it. What if some woman is having a baby and the dad is an abusive drug user? They let him in. He is drunk and tries to fight her dad. Now they're yelling in the hallway and they're dragging him out. None of the other women would be able to give birth in peace with all this going on. Lawyers would set up office outside the elevators. They cannot allow this. I begged my parents to block his phone number and asked that they not inform him when I give birth. They refuse to do so, and it's making me extremely anxious. You need to get away from your parents. You need to get a lawyer so he cannot sue you for custody or visitation. You have to inform the hospital that he is banned from the hospital. Tell the hospital. They will not let them in your room. Don't be scared to enforce your boundaries. Wishing you well. Honey, you need a restraining order. Tell the hospital no one is allowed in the delivery room. Your parents are not supporting you. Please beware of them in the future, giving X updates and whatever. Don't put his name on the BC, and he will have to go through courts to try for custody. You have the papers he already sent you, and that will hold in your favor. Have a safe delivery. You need to contact a lawyer to get his parental rights terminated. You can also sweeten the pot by adding a closure that you will not go after him for child support. He was effectively nothing more than a genetic donor and will be referred to as such. Have him sign it and add a cease and desist clause where, if he doesn't stop contacting and harassing you, it will be understood he wants to be in the child's life and you will go after him for full child support. He is a narcissist, and he thinks he can control you, so get your power back and gag him. Medical student here, you've gotten good advice. I would add that you should also advise the hospital that you want a confidential birth. You don't want anyone to be able to call and know you are there, what your son is named, or any other details. Get a restraining order now. Tell the hospital not to allow him to your room or even let him know that you are in fact in the hospital. You may be able to get a restraining order here based on harassment if you have documentation of his unhinged behavior. You need to go to court to have him relinquish his rights entirely. And you need to stop letting your parents dictate any choice that you make. You're a mother now, an adult. If you can't set boundaries, then you need to go no contact, because it's hard to parent when you're being patented, undermined. He sounds incredibly abusive and scary. Document everything he has done. Any communication, texts, emails, voicemails, etc. And file a restraining order. Why you need to protect yourself and your child. The fact that your parents don't seem concerned is really upsetting. They should have your back. If they don't, they shouldn't know when you are even going to the hospital. Please tell me you have a safe place to be after the birth. Please have one or more friends stay with you if possible. Please have a person like your friend as your medical POA and a will etc saying who will end up with your child. Talk to a lawyer about that and about not getting the sperm donor on the birth certificate. Asterisk it sounds like your parents addicts do not have your best interests at heart. They just want the baby asterisk. Get legal advice now while you are of sound mind. Be prepared to get a foo binder ready for when your parents go apeshit when they aren't allowed near the baby. I bet someone will make claims to CPS on you. So get your legal ducks in a row now. You need to move ASAP. It is not safe for you. I'm not trying to scare you, but he is escalating his behavior. Info: do you live with your parents? Would it be hard to just tell them the induction got rescheduled and make your way there on your own? Before the no attendance birth, get a lawyer and a restraining order. You have evidence from his lawyer telling you not to contact him. Return the favor. And your parents are horrible people. Boundaries around grandbaby visitation need to be put in place now. I wouldn't be surprised if they take the baby to your ex for a visit. Your parents can't insist to be anywhere near you, nor can that man. Tell the hospital you don't want any of them to be let in. I get that total strangers would contact your obgyn to say what exactly? Also, what is he actually saying to your employers? That you got pregnant? You need to find other support. If your parents aren't supportive, they insist on driving me to the hospital in their car and staying the entire time. I set to be induced tomorrow and am now more anxious than ever. I'm shocked about your parents' behavior. Not strangers, only his immediate family members and friends that I met when we were together. According to the OBGYN office, they were attempting to get my medical records. They definitely should have known better. Not sure what his thought process was, especially since he works at a city fire department. When he contacted my employer/coworkers, it was in person at a training seminar they were at together. He tried to tell them I was faking a pregnancy. I had already told my coworkers at this point and was starting to show. I can't make promises, but if you advise the nurses from the moment you arrive the father may be dangerous 99.99% of the time, they will absolutely bar him from the hospital or at least from you and the baby. Do not be afraid to do this and to ask that no one may see your baby without your present. I'm an RN. He doesn't even have to be dangerous. She can simply say she doesn't want any visitors, including the father, and they won't let them in. Even if he shows up, you pick who you want in the room. If you tell them he's not allowed in, then he's not allowed in. I'm sorry your parents don't have your back on this. It's not like you're being vindictive. You can request from any medical professionals involved that no information is shared. I'd also inform the police of the harassment and go no contact with people who choose to share info with him. Put you and your baby first. Restraining order. You need a restraining order against this guy. Go talk to an attorney as soon as possible about how to ensure your legal rights and get that row immediately. The way he is acting is really frightening. Also, let the hospital know what is going on and under no circumstances is he, his family or anyone else who is not on your list permitted in because of danger to the baby. They will take that seriously, particularly if you get an row in place immediately.